And we're back. How's everybody doing? Yes, sirree, Bob. It is the after show where I will be talking about my interview yesterday with Eric Aarvoll, aka Aarvoll. Huge show. Great show. Over really, really well. And lots to think about, but I'm going to wait for people to start showing up in the chat, and then we'll kind of get down to it, you know. Hope everybody's doing well out there. If you have not seen the interview, I would urge you to look it up on this channel and let me know what you think. It's a pretty big deal. He's been doing the rounds. He's been on all of the major shows and then some. He and several people have started an intentional community. They actually have 3 communities. And he wanted to talk to me about creating an arts institute for the culture. So there's, the thing to do really is to watch the show and get all the lowdown there, There's a lot of logistics involved. It's not, starting an art institute is not something you just fall out of bed one day and it just materializes. A lot of people and money, resources, it's quite a lot. I feel like I'm the guy that can do it if it's to get done. I don't really know anybody else in our sphere who would do it or could do it, I guess, with at least my expertise, with my background in education and all that. It would involve essentially art administration, setting up events, running concerts and conventions and art gallery, and it really would be a very involved, pretty much a full-time job. But you don't, well, that's actually one of the big questions that I have is, should we put the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse? Because in order for such an institute to really work, you would really need the arts community to be engaged and involved in it, right? So people in the arts are struggling, frankly, Their artists are not your, they're not, they're artists, just to say that, So there would have to be some form of, it would have to work for them. You know what I'm saying? I think they really need to be making money from their work, and that's just a given. So we don't really live in a fantasy land where it's all, free. Doesn't really jive like that, So that would involve funding of some kind, if they're grants or donations. There's many ways in which such things are done in the art world currently. I don't think that we'd be getting any kind of state money for who we are, but maybe not. Maybe we need a grant writing committee, A lot to unpack. A lot to unpack there. So the dialogue, the conversation keeps on going. Eric and I are gonna be, we're probably gonna become pretty tight. with all the stuff going down, and he's got hundreds of applications. They're backlogged, and hundreds of applications of people that want to join Return to the Land community, which is phenomenal. The hello to the three people lurking. Um, I was trying to say I lost my point. Shit. 100 people backlog. Well, anyway, it's just it's. Oh, okay. What I wanted to say was that this was not. I mean, he's been doing this for quite a while, and it's not like he's a big time vlogger guy. We know about him in our sphere, but I'd say like you know, I don't know. He's just not. He's just not one of these like super famous guys that's very high. He's not Nick Fuentes or something. Real down to earth guy. Blah blah blah. And then somebody on Reddit. It's basically like a Jewish Reddit group discovered Return to the Land and made it their project to take it down. It's ethno state for me, but not for thee, as it were. And that is something we're very, very familiar with, this kind of ethnic hatred towards whites. Anyway, that backfired in a really bad way for them. So, they went out and did all their things and pulled all their strings and pressed all their buttons and, got all their media outlets to do what they do to spread like smears and hit pieces and all that. It's just the usual shit. Very, very normal shit. And in fact, the New York Times just got off the phone with him right before our interview. So, I mean, he's at a level where the New York Times is interviewing him. So, it's of course the Jew York Times. So you can be fairly sure it's they're gonna lie or they're gonna like make it look like, oh my God, this is the end of the world or some shit. It's always like it's just expected. So, but ironically, and this is really amazing, but it backfires. It becomes an advertisement, and hence they've got hundreds of people that want to join, and they're backlogged, and they can't get enough of those interviews processed, et cetera, et cetera. So I really, really, really liked how during the show he was really focused on our message is not hate. This is not that kind of thing. We're not anti-government. We're not a militia. We don't do any of those sorts of things. There's lots and lots of communities like this out there already. We just happen to be in the news because some anti-white racists went out of their way to lie about us and make us stink. And now at every turn, we have to defend ourselves and repeat over and over and over and over and over. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not doing anything illegal. Here's all the legal paperwork. You can go through everything, and bang, it's everything is to the letter, and there's no legal precedent whatsoever to go after them, which is beautiful. And so the enemy can stick that in their pipe and smoke it. It's like, so it's just really, I don't know. I guess I find it sort of funny how that backfired. So whatever. Anyway, but as far as like an actual art institute, etc. Wow. I mean that's they already have the land set aside for this. There's development that would have to occur, obviously. That's obviously going to cost money and blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty much where I'm at this moment is trying to understand where's the money coming from? How is this funded? Blah 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 blah, whatever. So as I learn more, I can decide what I can and can't do, uh, how much of a sort of an investment risk, blah blah blah, all of the minutia of like how does this fit into my life. I've got my hands full with certain things just in my life at the moment, that would not make it, you know, I don't know that I would be moving there per se. I would fly there for events and, you know, little vacations or something like that, which is really nice. There's something kind of charming about that. But I don't know. It's again, there's really so much yet to learn in terms of all those details. So it's kind of until I know more, I can't actually say more. Um, but I am really, really excited about what a great show it was. That was just so cool, you know. Great audience participation. Um, I've got my guys in my group, and they're super, super supportive, really great friends. They see something in me. They get me. They understand the importance of the work I do. They recognize the leadership skills that I have. And they rally around it, and they're excited about it. There's a lot that, we talk about, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's cool. What this really would require is me getting the arts community back together. Um, the White Art Collective was phenomenal when it had its day. We did, gosh, we did shows. I'd say like how many nights a week? Like maybe 4 nights a week. Imagine that. Like 3 to 4 nights a week there were White Art Collective shows on the internet, and different people ran different shows. A lot of them were fun and goofy. We would movie review shows. What was the one? We would do karaoke once in a while for a laugh. Like, it was such a great culture. It was just a really fun culture. Um, but then, of course, more serious shows. The poetry show and my show. Craig the Man's here. Hello. Last night, got a lot of people on the stream. Yes, sir. I'm like, I don't know, somewhere around like 456 views right now, a day later, which is pretty nice. 76 likes, a bunch of new subscribers. Victorian Time Traveler is here. Oh, bonjour, Charlotte. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I love France. I am part French too, and unfortunately, I don't speak French. I can say, ça va. But I'm very happy to have you here. Victorian Time Traveler says, hi, Donald. I missed your interview with Aarvoll. I hope it went well. Oh, my God, dude, it was huge. Yes, it was huge. I'm actually talking about it now. Just doing a kind of, recap. I kind of want to... Hold on a sec. Yeah, I'm going to draw and stuff. Ça va et toi? Oh man, I want to learn French so bad. It's killing me. There's a story I tell on this show that when I was a teenager, we had an option to learn French or Spanish in high school. And all my life I was so excited. I can't wait to take French in school. I'm going to learn French. I would tell my grandmother, my French grandmother, oh, I'm going to, learn French. And she's so excited. And then that summer, I had a girlfriend, and she said, oh, no, take Spanish. I'll help you. It's easy. And I, like a stupid kid, Oh, okay. And then I signed up for Spanish, and then we broke up by the end of the summer. So it's a terrible story. So, I don't know. I've got to make a point at some point in my life to just sit down and learn some French. I do actually speak some Mandarin. My Chinese is not bad. I lived in Asia for 5 years, and it's looking like I don't know. That's another rabbit hole. That's just a long story. I won't get into why do I speak Chinese, but good stuff. So, what else is going on? Who do we have here? Oh my God, it's Ulfric. Hey, hail Donald. All right, all right. Well, it's great to have you. How did you like the show last night, Mr. Ulfric? What was your impression there, sir? Yeah, it was really, really successful. It was a very, very great show last night. So this is obviously a gigantic move forward for me. It's a huge, huge step forward for me. I guess we're gonna draw a monster here. I hope you guys don't mind looking at monsters while I talk here. This is a pretty grotesque monster as well. But yeah, so Eric, I'm not. I'm trying to think back about how did this even fall into place. Like, how did he? How did this all come to pass? I don't even remember. But he wanted to reach out to me about creating an arts institute for return to the land. And as I understand it, they have land set aside in the Midwest, and it's a go, so it's there. But then there's all the logistics of funding and building the actual space. So last night on the show, I showed some concept art. That was one of the first things I asked him is like, what do you need from me, you know? And he's like, we need concept art. We want to see some drawings of what would a space like that look like, you know? So we got kind of a laugh because I drew this beautiful, you know, a facility that had, you know, kind of slightly Greco-Roman, a little bit modern, all this kind of stuff, and it certainly would cost a lot of money to build such a facility. But I thought, you know, let's just indulge ourselves in the vision of this. We deserve this. You know what I'm saying? We deserve this. Let's go all out and kind of get a sense of like what could this look like. And the idea, of course, is to build excitement. If somehow this does all come to pass, then what it would mean is me being essentially like an art administrator, uh, running the show, running the property, so to speak. Not the property, but the institute itself. I've already had a number of conversations with a variety of people. There's a lot of people involved in this. There's a lot of people across the country that are interested in different capacities. Eric is very confident about it, and that gives me confidence. But I'm the total newbie. I have so much yet to learn. So I got to go through kind of like all the legal paperwork at the website to get familiarized, you know, with what's required, blah, 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 blah. One of the things that has come to mind with me is just you can't run an art institute without artists. You got to populate the place with events, music, dance, media, sculpture, painting. You know, there's a number of art organizations, institutes where I live that I love, 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 and I've gone to them over the years, and those are the model for me. Sorry, they're the model for how I see this. They're not not small. They're not some kind of rinky-dink baloney, you know, hole in the wall. There's a lot of history and a lot of support, and the communities of these art institutes, they care. It's the identity of the community. It's our history. So I think big. I'm a dreamer. I'm a visionary, and I have all these big ideas, as you can imagine. So I have to sometimes keep my feet on the ground, and not get too crazy, I guess. But at the same time, I think a little crazy is good. You should be a little crazy sometimes to, you know, push the boundaries of things and stuff. Have some imagination. So there's just so many components to the whole thing simultaneously that it's very overwhelming at this point. I have a lot on my plate. I mean, I'm already so like this project that you see me doing right now, excuse me, is I still have a couple issues to go, but then when it launches, it's going to be a very, very major event. We have like a meeting, kind of what do you call it, like a marketing meeting coming up this week. A lot of people involved, blah, blah, blah. It's super exciting. I'm very excited about getting this thing published and out there. Like I mentioned, like the website's up already. There's some tweaking and this and that, but yeah, marketing. When you launch something of this nature, there's a lot involved in that. You gotta kick it. You gotta move it. You gotta, hustle. So there's gonna be a bit of that happening at some point. It's just I think I've hit a zone. Like I've hit a zone where everything is going amazingly. I have like incredible amounts of synchronicities all day, every day. I mean, almost to the point where it's like God is just like shoving me basically, like come on, let's go, here we go, come on, let's go, move it, focus, keep going, and in a beautiful way, in a way that's you know quite different from where I was a year ago, where I was struggling with a lot of personal problems and suffering a lot basically. I actually deleted some of those streams because they were really depressing. They were just not nice to listen to. Anyway, let me check some chat. What do we got? Holy cow, Craig, you are dominating. Let somebody else talk. No, let's see what you got to say here. Oh my God, hold on. Wow, a lot of talk. You're gonna scare Charlotte away. Don't do that. What do we got? Show was great, and I had to tune out at a couple points, but it went wonderfully from what I saw. Interested in finding out about a few more of those communities. Yes, there's a lot happening, my bro. Well, you and I will talk privately. Don't know that Arkansas is exactly in the cards for me in the next few years, but would love to connect with them where I may be. Yeah, that's the point. That is the whole point, is that Eric is traveling around the country to help set up a lot more of these communities. So put two and two together. Craig says, I apologize for only clicking like rather than also sharing stream. It was a spirit of my decision. I just really everyone I knew Twitter that night. I appreciate anybody helping me with marketing the show, of course. Yeah. Time Traveler says, I was going through my desk and found a sketchbook with a comic book I made. Cool. Awesome, dude. If you can find me on Telegram, you can share that, If it's any consolation, the thing I was talking about, the account for that is following you so business people can see you as well. Recruits. Yeah, I need to follow up on that, dude. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you on that. I'm just, my head is spinning. I got so much coming at me at the same time. If you can like super simplify what you're offering so that it doesn't take 100 emails and all of that stuff, that could help. That could be helpful. I'm not on Facebook, by the way. I'm banned from Facebook. Uh, Ulfric says, without crazier people, our people never would have taken flight through the sky or gotten to space. Good point. Thank you, sir. Hills back at you, Craig. I'm very happy that things are picking back up for you again. Thank you, sir. Very kind of you to say. Um, I've always just been content doing my thing. Like I'm good. But I have a pretty strong, like I'm sort of burning inside to make the movement move and to do leave a legacy and to help. I talk about those things quite a bit. Excuse me. Um, and so maybe since I've sent out the signal so much to the universe, it's finally coming back in. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? It's going down. Yep. And it's funny how when you're coming up, like that's when the snakes come out and try to beat you down. That's when the apes fall out of the trees and try to bonk you on the head with their stupid comments and say ignorant things that demonstrate they don't even understand what you're saying or doing. And I don't know what it is about some people. Like they hate seeing other people succeed. It's weird. And to me, I'm like, of all the things in life to do and be, don't be that. Like that's just like so. Like, what are you doing? Like, get a fucking life. But anyway, what can you do but ignore them? It's just birds chirping. That's all that is. Yeah. So there's a lot on my mind. Oh, I'm sorry. I always do that. I kind of go off camera. Um, a lot on my mind. A lot on my plate. Um, Again, this isn't going to happen overnight. So I've got this graphic novel in front of me that I'm working on. Um, Frankly, I'm looking to make some nice coin off of this. I think this is going to be a big hit. And of course, the writer and the producers want to continue it. They want to franchise it. And, you know, that's the idea. You don't do these things to stop doing them. You want to grow them. And there's tons of potential for that with this property. I've created 98 characters for this silly alliance world. No, they're not my ideas. They're the writer's ideas, and then I just collaborate with him. I don't know if you know anything about like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They pretty much invented the Marvel universe up to a certain point. Then there were other creators that came in. That was just a different phase in Marvel's history. But yeah. So we're kind of the Stanley Jack Kirby team, if you will. Um, but in the end of the day, it's really his world. I have my world with Militia Man. Those are my characters. And I do want to finish Militia Man. I do want to get back to that. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, finances do have an impact on such things. They do dictate certain things that you got to do. You have to work within limitations. Crockmer1 is here. Awesome, Crockmer. Great to have you. Let's read some chatteroonies here. We got thing is whoa, sorry. The thing is broad by intent because I want my future family to have their hands in all markets. Good. Generally, how do you ink your comic? Well, very carefully. I do use a really nice Japanese ink pen brush, an ink brush, Fudenosuke, but the brush doesn't make the ink. It's the skill that makes the inking. So I have a kind of a philosophy of inking for people who want to get into kind of the art nerd conversation. And there's just a number of things I did learn from a guy who I don't really want to say his name because I just, you know, like knowing being associated with Donald Kent in the comic book industry could probably get him in trouble just because they're very, very, very liberal, very woke, you know. But anyway, he's like a 35-year veteran of Marvel and DC, very, very well known guy in the comics industry, and it's just a long story how we met, but he trained me on comic book illustration and inking. And so there's lots of different aspects. Comic book inking it's kind of an art form in itself. It's like a tradition in itself, and it goes back to the great days of American illustration, from like the say the 20s and 30s even, you know. All those guys like Hal Foster and Milton Caniff and like names of people you guys probably wouldn't know. They did all the work to like lay out the rules for pen and ink illustration, you know. And in those days they were, you know, that was a job. Newspapers and magazines needed illustrators for lots of stuff, and now we have like, you know, photographers and graphic designers, and you just don't they're out there. I mean, there's illustration work out there obviously, but anyway, so like there's a kind of a flow or a connection from the illustration industry into comics. That's pretty much, that could be like a whole, I could do like a whole show on that because it's really detailed, and I would get like all kinds of artwork to share, and it would be a really fun show. It would be like really enjoyable to watch, just because there's so much gorgeous artwork from those days, you know. I guess it's hard to just talk it through. Like, here's one thing is that the lines should be bouncy, meaning not sterile, not just flat. And you don't want, like, so like the lines, for example, on the stairs, like that's made of concrete. So I use, you know, I use rulers and shit for that. But when I'm doing people and clothing and organic stuff, I want to use a brush, you know, because I want it to have a life to it. You want the lines to be alive, you know, and that makes for a more beautiful book as well. Like there's something to enjoy, you know, visually. I guess it's kind of like if you were listening to someone play guitar, you know, if they just played the notes, you know, it could be kind of boring. Like you want to hear them bend the strings, you want to hear them put on some distortion, they want to hear cool techniques and things that make it more expressive. So inking is the expressive side of comics, as far as I could say. Well, to an extent. Anyway, send your social media accounts. A lot of platforms now. Contractors equal text automations, CRM. Brick and mortar is all payment processing. Do you color your comics on digital? I have, but I don't like to. Coloring is really awesome. It's an amazing art form, but it's super freaking tedious, very time consuming. And if you want to make money in this field, then you got to work fast. And there's basically teams of people that do coloring. There's people that only do coloring. They just specialize in it, and that's not who I am. I'm a line art guy. That's what I do. I like anatomy. I like the cinematic storytelling quality of what I do. I have a huge chip on my shoulder about comics because I like to say that comics are the hardest art form out there. That because you are the choreographer, you're the director, you're the actor, you're the costume designer, the lighting, uh, blah 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 blah. You do like every freaking thing with your pencil, and that's all you got. And so that's a heck of a lot of that's a lot, architecture, the pacing, the editing, cutting the scenes, making sure that like you're telling the story within a given amount of space on a page. It's really, really challenging. I'll be quite honest with you. The author of this book is very wordy, very, very, very wordy. And he ends up going back and like editing a lot of his text back because he realizes once we get the pages that there's no way that the letterer can fit that all on there, and his writing style is more like, well, I want to just kind of blurt it out. I want to kind of get it out all out of my head, and then I'll go back later and kind of blah blah blah. And that's not really how you do it, but when you're going from one type of like writing for comics is its own art form, and I believe his background's in film. So that's fine in film. It's very, very, he's like a master of dialogue. And in film, you want that. You got to have good dialogue. It's pretty key. But comics is a visual art form that needs more, I don't know, more consideration, I suppose, towards making sure that I only have so much real estate on the page. I can't just add more and more and more and more and more. It doesn't work like that. In film, you can just, a shot in a film could be like 3 seconds long. But for me, like for example, in this case, there's the villain has this guy's daughter in a as like sort of in a case. Not blah, blah, blah. Do you remember the Brooklyn tunnels? That's the illusion here. Okay, she's sort of a sex slave, and he's talking on the phone to the father, and so and then he's kind of having his monologue about whatever, and they're gonna feed her to the monster, and she, oh father help me, so like it's a kind of a tropey sort of villain scenario, right? Common thing. But how would this look on film? Like you probably maybe start off with the zooming in on the villain talking on the phone, and then you would pan out to the scene of the actual space where you would see her inside a dungeon, and then you would probably zoom in to get her expression while he's talking. Then you do a quick cut over to him talking and saying like, this is the ultimatum, send me $1 million or I'll feed her to the monster. I mean, that's not the story, but I'm just giving you an example. And then cut away to the father's eyes, really angry, and what am I gonna do? Oh, the revenge I'm gonna get on him. And then cut back to the villain monologue, and then a look at the monster, and then a close up on her. Oh my, oh, it's drama. It's theater. It's drama. It's fun. So put all that on a single page. You see what I'm doing? I'm making a movie scene on a page of paper. So it's really, really hard to do. You need time and experience, and you got to look at a lot of comics. You got to understand composition, storytelling, and where are the word balloons going to go? I mean, it's going to cover up some spaces. I have some blank spaces here. What I hate is if there's too many words that you cover up things that are too important. Now you can cover up a little bit of the staircase. These mattresses are important. These chains on the wall are important. But I have a lot of empty space here. I got empty space here. You can put more word balloons in here. So you got to leave those dead spaces, because there's no point in putting a million details and then they cover it with a word balloon. They're wasting your time. Whoa, I'm giving a massive lecture on comics. So hey, Patty Irishman is here. Hey, Kent. Listened and loved the interview with Aarvoll last night. God bless you, sir. I'm so happy you watched it. Thank you for coming. But you did great. Oh, that's really comforting. I appreciate. I'll be honest. I was nervous a bit. I really did a lot of preparation work. My computer was heating up a lot, and I was like, that was making me nervous, because when my computer heats up, it jams up, and I'm like, do not screw up this interview. This is too important. But it came out beautifully. The only problem is at the end, if you listen to the music, my song that I played at the end, it's like slow, and then it speeds up, and then it slows down, and it speeds up, and that's not normal. That was a tech issue on my end. Everybody seemed to like it though. The show, that is. Your panoramic sketch, our future capital, shows that art really does foreshadow action. Thank you. See, that was extraordinarily important. That was so important to the show. One of the very first things, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, you're reaching out to me about this, and like, how can I help you? And the very first thing you said is, we need concept art. I thought, oh, well, that's my forte. You came to the right guy. It's your lucky day. Merry Christmas. So I actually did that throughout the day, before the show. So like, those are kind of like, that was like hot off the press. And I'm like, I have no idea what the budget is. I don't know the physical land location. I know it's kind of flat around there or whatever. But blah blah blah. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. And then I came up with that design, and he loves it. He thought it was awesome. So I think it's pretty cool. And really what I wanted to do is get the audience excited, is to get people thinking, like, this could happen. Like, we should get behind this, We deserve this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, to have a culture, and I mean, I'm a big thinker, I'm a visionary, so I'll look at something like that and figure, in like 100 years from now, this building is going to grow and grow and grow. There'll be all kinds of documentary things, not documentary, sort of like historic events, things that, like, okay, this on this day, on this time or whatever, we did this event, and here's the result of it. Whatever those things might be, if they were, like performances or blah 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 blah, all that stuff. So it's, I mean, I'm basically trying not to get like like too crazy excited about it, because there's a really a mountain of work yet to go into it, and I'm just kind of at the beginning of the whole journey. So I'm just sort of trying to keep my head on my shoulders, which for me sometimes is hard to do. But it looks like all the pieces are there. Um, I was talking earlier, before the show started, just about logistical things, financing, how I would be essentially like an art administrator slash teacher. I would be involved in funding, like looking for funding for things, running a gallery. It's important that artists get paid for their work, selling their work. Like there's just so many aspects to this. Um, and but then again, there's like a lot of people as well. So it's not necessarily just me out there doing these things. And I think one of the things that I'm mostly concerned about at the moment is that, since Jeff Winston, the founder of the White Art Collective, since he passed away, the arts community has really dissipated a lot, and I would have to somehow kind of rally everybody back together. And in the course, pardon me, of me trying to do that, I've discovered how black-pilled people are. Like there's a kind of, there's a really negative culture in our movement, and everybody's like, oh, I don't like that guy, and I don't like that guy, and the this and that and the other thing, and I'm like, we got to move past that. We really have to move past the ourselves. We have to have a new, brighter vision for who we are, and what we're supposed to be. you know and it's gonna, you gotta let go of the old thing to grab onto the new thing, if you know what I'm saying. So there's a level of just kind of me making people believe again, like this is our time, that here's something that is good for you, that it's going to help you, that you can blah blah blah. I don't, you get the general idea of what I'm saying. So the illusion here too. I don't. Are you guys aware of like the Brooklyn tunnels? Remember the news about that? You guys remember? Tell me you know what I'm talking about. Under basically a synagogue, they found all these tunnels, and the police came in and raided the place, and then they pulled out all of these bloody mattresses from these tunnels that these rabbis dug in the walls and around, underneath and around their so-called temple, if you want to call it a temple. So the space that she's in with the mattresses, etc. You get the idea. Anyway, let's move on. Let's read some chatteroonies. We got Ulfric. Would love to help do that. We need Whackback. Thank you. Yes. We do. And I tried to grab the wheel after Jeff passed, but everybody was in so much pain, and just the way it all went down. I mean, Antifa came out and started attacking us again. I mean, they were celebrating that Jeff died. I mean, just to show you what like utter scumbags these people are, what utter amazing garbage they are. I mean, can you imagine hating white people so much that you would celebrate Jeff Winston's death? I mean, that's dark. That is dark. Oh my God, what is fucking wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you? Oh my God, But like, to me, people who discourage me from doing what I do are just as shit as Antifa. I don't care, if you think you're a patriot and you're a normie or something, but if you're anti-white, you're anti-white. It's all the same shit. And why? I I can't wrap my head around that. I can in the sense that like I understand how the propaganda works, how the fake history works. I get it. You know, I know that people are mentally disabled per se by the propaganda. You know, it's a mass form of MK Ultra. That's pretty much how I look at it. You know, that when you pour out negative media on about whites over decades, every day, all day, how can people not think of whites in such a negative manner? You know, never before in history have there been the kind of media power that TV and film have today, and you know it's just nonstop degradation for us. You know, to the point where I would almost say that some people don't even. They're kind of like, you know, I don't know. They don't. How do I put this? Like they kind of ignore it because it's just always there. You know, you drive down the road and every billboard you see is another thing, or it's just like taken for granted that like you know white people are shit or something like that. So it's you know like we got a lot of work to heal that and to counteract that. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty serious stuff. That's a you know I will say to a certain extent I am driven very much by that. Like I'm offended by it and I want to in a sense fight it, you know, by making art that is healthy and happy and positive and celebrates who we are and all of that, you know, explicitly. Like because I don't know how to say this. It's like if you're ignoring or recontextualizing the anti-white out of things, then you're a coward. You're not actually like you're not actually doing the work. You know, when I talk to artists and such about their work, because I mentor people a little bit here and there, and people come to me for advice, etc. And they'll say, you know, I don't know, I'm doing this or that, and is it any good? And I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, it's great. You don't stop what you're doing, you know, something, but don't hide what you're doing. Don't like be ashamed of what you're doing. Don't water it down so that you know people have to guess who is this, what is this about, is this about? No, be fucking explicit, you know what I'm saying? You know, I apologize to people who don't like swear words. Like if I don't swear I'm gonna go postal, you know. Like I it's just it's like some people smoke cigarettes. I swear, okay, give me just sue me, okay, you know, like give me a break, okay. It just helps, you know. I'm sorry. I apologize if that offends you. Moving on. Ulfric says you should connect with Wolf Shield. I already did, actually. Ironically, I did before the show, and I believe that Wolf Shield and I are probably going to be working a lot more closely in the future. We're always on each other's radar, and you know we're still connected and stuff. He put out a major, major is the word, but he put out an actual film, you know, with other people in the White Art Collective. At least one other. You guys can check out his stuff. Like making film is massively difficult. It's like you know. That's a real endeavor to make a movie, you know, like a movie, not just like, you know, a couple minutes of whatever, but script writing, editing, casting, all of these various things. So speaking of acting and casting and all that stuff, a while back I was talking about doing some acting work, and the direction that I'm going, I basically decided that like this young guy who is kind of starting out his career, you know, or whatever in film, does not need like Donald Kent attached to one of his projects because the film world is extremely woke, and it'll ruin his chances to kind of get anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So that does suck, but I did kind of have to reach out and say, look, man, this is I would love to work with you. I don't know about the future, but like where I'm at right now with what direction I'm going, it's just not going to work for you. So I have to kind of bow out on that. And he totally understood. In fact, that was a concern of his quite a while back. We had a lot of discussions like, is this really, maybe I shouldn't do this. Because he's for real in he's connected to all of these people in the local film industry and literally works in it. And they're all scumbag shitlibs, like they're total shitlibs. They don't. They're like pretentious as hell and narcissistic and all of it. So he's not, but like if you wanna play ball, I guess that's kind of the deal. What else do we got here? Let's read some more chats. Okay, connect. Wolf Shield. He has said this and the part about bringing people together at this point to dissipate fighting. Yeah, good. The Orthodox knows people who had the tunnels shut down. Yeah, you know about that. Some of them came scurrying about out the manholes. You couldn't write better propaganda skits. I know, that is amazing. Craig says, I'm going to bed soon, busy week, but send you another email. Okay, Craig, you're probably gone by now, I guess. But so, like, wow, dude, oh my God. We got 14 people hanging out, so if anybody has any questions, if you saw the Aarvoll interview, then, like, pop something in the chat just so that I can kind of take some numbers. I've been looking at my analytics, just seeing, where people are coming from, how many people watch the show, this and that. Garrett Truesdale, I saw it. I just subbed yesterday. Awesome, Garrett. Thanks so much for joining my community. Maybe I should do a little book show and show you my original, the book that I published. Hang on a second. I'll grab that and I'll give you guys a secret look, a sneak peek. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Imperium Calling. So I did actually advertise this at the beginning of the show. If you'd like to support me, you can pick this up at my website. The link for this is at the sort of the homepage of this YouTube. If you go to my YouTube's homepage, you'll see my link. Hello to T-Rad Dad. Great to have you here. So we got some new people hanging out. They just saw the Aarvoll show. They want to know, who is this Donald Kent guy? Who is this Donald Kent guy? Well, take a screenshot of that, I guess, and read a little bit about me. My background: lived in Asia for 5 years and blah, blah, blah. All kinds of cool stuff. I was in the Comicsgate scene. Do you guys know what Comicsgate is? You've heard of Gamergate? Well, there's Comicsgate, and that is anti-woke comics that are about stuff you're not supposed to say, like you can't show Muslims as bad guys, So John Delarose wrote this. If you don't know who John Delarose is, he's one of the top writers in the Comicsgate scene. He now does a show with Vox Day, and I hope that you know who Vox Day is. If you're in this culture, you should probably know. He's been around a long time. Great publisher. He actually was one of the first people to publish comics, right-wing comics. This story right here was written by Kai Moros. Who knows who Kai Moros is? You better do your homework if you don't. Sharp guy, he's the type to inspire others. All right, so just reading a little bit of that. I'm just kind of scooting through. Now, this is my original project that I've been working on. Like a lot of my streams are Militiaman. And the story is essentially a kind of a, if you could cross Captain America with Superman, he starts off as like a normie MAGA force dude, but then the Judeo-Christian news that sponsors his superhero team, that he murders all the people on the team, but he somehow survives, and then goes on to discover that they are the bad guys. Judeo-Christian news is actually opening a portal to let a demon come through to the world, and the demon's name is called Noahide. What does Noahide sound like? Noahide Law? So anyway, here's some art from the Bizarchives with Dave Martell. If you don't know Dave Martell, then you better get in the know. Look up the bizarchives.com and you can see, oh, hey, look at that. There's one of the book covers I did. So that's all good and well. There's a variety of other things. I did the show graphic for No White Guilt. I get a lot of people from the No White Guild community over here. I've been published with Countercurrents. I hope you guys know Greg Johnson, Countercurrents. There's some excerpts from one of the book about white slavery. There's no books about white slavery out there. I do portraiture, fine art. I'm an art teacher. Portrait of Francis Parker Yockey, which I hope you guys know who Cultured Thug is. He owns this painting, Cultured Thug, on Rumble. Strongly recommend you look him up. He is our resident expert on fascism and third position politics. Here's this painting is like 4 foot by 3 feet, so it's a duplication of a famous Italian painting of the Rome sacking the temple at Jerusalem. It's a little hard to see on screen, I'm sorry, but this was a commission some years ago, very expensive. And then just, more portraiture work, basic stuff, some conceptual art, just a variety of beautiful work. This is a kind of East and West combination here. With I lived in Asia for 5 years, so I'm doing this in oil painting, more of conceptual art about the Imperium man, the birth of the Imperium. The concept of the Imperium again is us creating the world in our own image. Science, religion, history, arts, spirituality, all come together to be reborn against the tide of Zog, basically. And so that's the spirit of my art, and that would be the spirit of what I would be doing with the Return to the Land Art Institute. If I say if that, it's just such a big endeavor to get that to happen, so it's going to be quite a while. But this is one of my, I'd say probably one of my best pieces here. It's quite large, so it would really, you can kind of look through it a bit here. You can see the church is burning. You see scenes from history. You see the blood coming down, feeding into this tree. You see this kind of sort of being coming out, and then you can see another scene from history that hopefully you guys know what that is. And this image is loaded with symbolism. This is my conceptual art. It's basically, that's what you would call it, is conceptual art. So it's meant to, have symbolic meaning, interpretation. You can, put it together yourself. Ulfric says, another white art collective cat, love Big Dave Martell. Ulfric says, this is an amazing collection you're showing down. Thank you. Very, very much appreciated. And thank you also, Garrett. Awesome sauce. Ladies and gentlemen, there's actually more comics in the back as well. I don't want to sort of give too much away, but like, this is this guy right here. I'll give you guys a special treat. We're bringing him back. He's going to be in the Alliance universe, and he's a fun character. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So this is what my work looks like colorized. The Black Sun. So what a difference, right? I mean, you just saw me doing inking, and then now when it's colorized, and then you see the word balloons and whatnot in there, it's it's quite professional looking, frankly, right? You know, you can get a sense of it. So cool beans, huh? Imperium Calling on Amazon. Get a copy right now, and be the coolest kid on your block. There you go. All right, beauty. All right, I guess I'll get back to work here. My music stopped. I think I need to put my music back on. I always like to have music on in the background. So let's get back to work. Where is the art page? That's weird. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Do you guys have any questions about last night's show? Any things you want to kind of rehash or whatever? Could be interesting. Um, there is a movie from the 70s. It's something like uh, Phantom of the Opera, but it's like a rock opera. And there's a famous image from that movie, which is like a close up of the villain with this weird kind of metallic mask and this kind of like bird eyes in the mask, and he's kind of yelling or screaming, and his lips are painted black, and it's really it's a real compelling image, you know. And so like when I came up with this composition, I just was inspired by that, you know. So to get dreamy a little bit, I will say, like, you know, the vision of, say, you know, working at this art institute, and, you know, say maybe teaching an art class at certain times of the day, um, taking some classes, maybe even like maybe some sculpture or something, um, working together with people in the media department to create a TV channel, and like what sort of news would we be broadcasting? Probably just, you know, things for these communities, you know, news for these communities. Setting up, say, like the next Ameren convention or whatever. Setting up concerts, like outdoor concerts, and, you know, wow, you know, I mean, it's really exciting to think about doing all those things, you know. Um, to be right at the heart of it, you know. I don't know if this will all come to pass. I mean, there's still a lot of work, and I'm gonna keep repeating that like over and over. But I think if you can keep it in your mind, and you can focus on it and kind of work on it, then yeah, those things could come together, you know. But for now, I'm drawing molars. There's sort of like in film when they do like extreme close-ups like this, especially on a villain like this. It in a sense is kind of gross in a way. It's sort of meant to creep you out a little bit, you know. Um, and then it'll be interesting to see like how the colorist treats it, you know, like what sort of highlights and shadows he'll put in there. Should be interesting. You know, maybe make the teeth a little yellow or something, you know. Because we all know villains have bad teeth, right? Anyway. Ah, yes. Alrighty. CG's here. Hey, buddy. Got that email out. I think I told you about that already. Oh, I love this one. Cool. Awesome art. Let's see. T-Rad Dad says, I'd like to see the young men band together culturally like our TTL. That's a great start that could influence families to follow. So, what's really, really happening here is a parallel society is forming. Okay. The good news, thank God, is that it's all like in the right spirit. It's not made out of spurgs and radicals and weirdos or any garbage. Like it's very, very, very clear in the bylines with, you know, this is what this community is. We're fostering this kind of community, and it's not filled with people that, you know, have negative intent. Let's just kind of make that clear. So that's gonna be very successful. You know, that's gonna it's vital. You know, and you know Eric's said this a number of times on a number of shows that they've already kicked people out of their communities. They've got the kind of within the agreement of joining the community. There's, you know, certain kind of behaviors that aren't acceptable. So why is that good is because obviously it's just good in and of itself, but it's also good because we want these communities to last. It's also good because it doesn't give our enemies any ground to kind of fight us on. I think if you know what I'm trying to say here, you know. They're going out of their way to just lie as that's all they have is lies. They've only ever had lies, you know. They're literally just that's it, you know. But you know, once again, they're going out of their way to just lie and reframe and just be the shit that they are. But you know, I mean, just even just like 1 minute with Eric, and you can tell like the guy is clearly, you know, very wholesome. You know, he's got his head in the right place, and he teaches philosophy classes. I mean, you know, he's kind of a brainiac. You know, like we were having a chat after the show, and I'm like, wow, man, I don't like we have very different ways of thinking. Like just not the way that we think, but like our brains operate in really different ways. He's highly, highly analytical, which is wonderful, and I can be analytical, but I'm just saying like it's going to be interesting. I think we'll complement each other a lot in terms of like, oops, I'm sorry, I did way, way off the camera there. Because I'm just focusing on the art. But anyway, I think you get my point. The fact that they've got hundreds of people backlogged that want to, you know, join this community, it says so much already. And then on top of that, there's even more communities that want to kind of network and, you know, they're not the same community legally in the sense of like, you know, whatever, the charter and all that business, but that spiritually they'll be aligned with return to the land. So a lot's going down, guys. I don't think there's ever been anything quite like this, you know. It's extraordinary. So yeah, wow, what a time to be alive, you know. And I guess our enemies can just cope and seethe, you know, and can just kind of cry in your pillow tonight All those mean words you said didn't work. Your mean words. You have to go get a life. Poor thing. I know, you just want to control me so much. It's just so hard not to control what I do and say. Oh, so sad. But, I don't know what to tell you. Get a hobby, maybe? I don't know. What are you going to do? Yeah. Hate is not the way. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, it's just not the way. You know, like, yes, we feel hate. It's a natural thing or whatever. But, like, hating on whites, like, what the... Can you find something better to do with yourself? You know, is there some other... What? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm trying to get back here. Let's go down. Oh, no, that's not right. There, and then there you... yeah, that'll do it. Okay. Sorry, guys. I got it. My camera keeps, like, slanting and stuff. I don't want to... Try to make... Yeah, it's kind of getting floppy here. Let's see if I can fix it up a bit. Sorry for that. I'm going to read the chat in a second. Give me just a second here to get organized. It says, solid, thank you. I'd like to see, I read that. It's not NJP, thank you. That's quite right. And I mean, you know, I'm not trying to throw shade on NJP or whatever, but it's not, you know, it's... really, I just think, like, ordinary white people can just be a part of it. You know, if they want to get away from the urban centers and places that are dangerous and get back to the land. I mean, that alone says it all. Return to the land. Who wouldn't want to do that? And then on the show last night, you know, Aarvoll was saying, like, it's not just us. Like, other communities can do this too. He was talking about, like, a black community that's done this in, or is trying to do this in Georgia, and I have no idea how successful they are or what they're doing or anything, but I like it. I think that all of these communities should be like this. You know, I think if life as we're living it is very unnatural, and there's just so many things about society in general that are just so unhealthy. And you know, I've always been interested in, like, Native American culture. You know, this, in a sense, for me, I think it feels like us going native. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. I absolutely love that. I did consultation for the local Native nations, and learned a lot from them, and had it was like just a great part of my life for a while there when I was involved with that. And then I'm just thinking, you know, why don't we have that? Like, how come we don't have that kind of culture, that sense of identity, the sense of history that we have to pass on? You know, what we have to create a future for our people coming, you know? So that's literally what Return to the Land is doing. And so that is extremely glorious. And yeah, there you go. I mean, you know, it's not like I'm on a mission to go out and have every different ethnic group do that or whatever, but you can see how it's good for people. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think, you know what I'm trying to say. T-Rad Dad says, even Keel people who know the score, we've been long overdue for a voice in Judeo-Christian liberal democracy. Very, very well said. Jason C., welcome. I've been listening for a while. Just want to say, hey, thanks, Jason. It's really, really, you know, I like to know who's hanging out, you know, and I obviously interact quite a lot with the chat and excited to get to know people and grow my community, So, like, anytime you feel like, you know, saying anything and whatever, it's all good, man. This is it's a safe space. It's a easygoing community, good people. Nobody attacks anybody. I actually have a moderator that like gets in there and bumps people out if they get stupid or whatever. So that's a whole other topic. Um, wow. So yeah. So, Jason, good convo as always. Oh, cool, cool. Who do you follow, Jason? Like, what are some influencers that you enjoy? Yeah, just anybody. By the way, next Monday I will be on. You guys know Yiz from the No White Guilt community. I will be on her show. She does it every Monday, which is called Discordant Dragons. It's like a game show, like a kind of a political hot take game show. So it's a fun hangout session where people get to, you know, use a kind of like a D&D gaming format to talk about thoughts, opinions about current events, bigger topics. It's mostly fun. I mean, we can get heady, I can get, big brainy and stuff like that. Most of her guests are those kind of people to begin with. They're people that are sort of like news jockeys, people that have their own vlogs and this and that, and they're really, really intelligent people, really plugged in with what's going on, and they have their own perspectives and opinions and stuff. So it can get a little like, okay, well, that's what I think. Well, that's what I think. But it's never hostile or anything like that. It's never nothing like that. She runs a good show. She pretty much makes a living from doing this now, which is pretty impressive. She's gone out of her way to contribute to the kind of the no white guilt community. And it's good. It's good stuff. So I've known her for a long, long time. She's been a big supporter of the White Art Collective. Just a real solid figure in the movement. I would say, though, that, like, when you're doing this kind of work, you can get fatigued. You can get really fatigued after a while. It's just comes with the territory. So I worry sometimes that she, maybe is doing too much, actually. She might need to take a little break and then, like, come back, That's just my opinion. It's not like, headline news or anything like that. Anyway, here we go again, drawing off screen. Sorry. What do we got here? So Jason says Shameless, Spurg, and Hermes are some of the newest guys, the Australian guys. Thomas Sewell. Am I saying Sewell or Sewell? Sewell, I believe. Thomas Sewell, if I say his name right, is a freaking amazing guy. Like, he's a beast. That guy, Blair Cantrell, phenomenal. Joel Davis, I don't know that I could call him a friend, but we've spoken on many occasions. We've been on shows together. I've interviewed him twice. He's a king. The man is like, those, our Australian brothers are doing some really hard work. They got it tough down there. And it's just, a lot of respect for them. God bless them. White Rabbit Radio was probably on the earliest. Yep. I need to get back in touch with him. I feel like, it's just, I need to maybe start thinking about maybe getting back into, you know what, when this book is published, that's when I'll do it. I'll reach back out to White Rabbit Radio and all these different platforms and be like, hey, what's up? Show them here's a new project I just published. It's about, like, political culture. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a lampoon of all these different, here, I'll give you a look at this page here. So Do you recognize anybody on this page? You see? Do you see the political lampoon there? This character is called God Emperor. Okay, with the hair, like you kind of getting it. That's his daughter in this next page that you can kind of see. You can kind of see, right? Tell me you can see. Okay, I think you get it. So I actually added the Freemason symbol here. If you're really, really deep down the rabbit hole, you'll know that these are symbolic. These have a special meaning. But I'm not gonna go there. Anyway, it's just different art from the book. Uh, let's see. White Rabbit. Tim is good people. Yeah, Tim is super solid, man. Super, super solid. He's been around for a long time. Very, very analytical. Really good communicator. He's got a big heart. Like just wow, like what a king. Like a great guy to have in our world here. Um, I interviewed him as well, and I showed the anti-racist Hitler cartoon that he made. Anti-racist Hitler. We must crush racism once and for all. So, with my new Crush Racism program, we will be introducing diversity to Israel. That's just a terrible German accent. I made a total ass of myself. I can't believe it. No, Hitler does not sound like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Uncle A. Forgive me. Forgive me. Such a funny cartoon. When I first saw that, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh my God, you can't do that. You can't say that. You can't show that. And I mean, this is the thing about art is like they always talk about, oh, art is supposed to this and that and how it functions in society. And I'm like, well, that's it right there. It's not some lefty, loosey lefty, LGBT, Black Lives Matter crap, which is all paid for. It's just a grift. It's just a grift. Everybody has the same message that they just repeat over and over and over and over. So, anyway, moving on. Let's see. I'm sorry, let me get back to the chats. Craig says, you did a good job at drawing him. I thought the small box with his eyes and eyebrows looked like him in the early page, but didn't want to say anything. Well, you were right. You were right, sir. When Ulfric asks, when you do a stream with White Rabbit again, aliens should be a big topic. Oh, dude. There's so much, dude. You just you just stepped on like a booby trap. Because I just discovered some new stuff that's like very, very life changing, really huge, massive life changing information. It's too big to go into on this. There's layers of Donald Kent that just cannot be seen by the public. Only my inner circle is like capable of listening to that stuff. Wow, man, I got it. I think in our group I'll go into that a bit, like next time I get a chance. But yeah, man, he's into UFOs. Cool. You guys could easily do a 3-hour stream on this subject. That's freaking cool as hell. I love it. Based of a prior interview he did with Night Nation Review. Cool. He is our guy for that topic. Wow. Night Nation Review. How come I don't know who that is? Oh yeah, the engineers. Yeah, Jason, what's your take on UFOs and all that? Because it's one of those like conspiracy theory cork boards with all the red yarn tied from pin to pin. It's like, okay, so over here it ties in with AI, and over there it ties in with the Bible, and over there it ties in with the who's, and over here is the deep state, and over there and on and on and on, and there's all these data points that converge into this massive like sort of terrifying vision of something. I have like a unified theory for all of it, that if when you see all of those data points through this one lens, they all make sense. And that's one of the big things that I have to kind of announce. But I wouldn't just, it's not enough to just be like blah 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 blah, and like you can easily dismiss that. You would really need to like hear the case for what I'm sort of, you know, proposing. For myself, I've found the golden key that ties it all together. And I'll just quickly just say that it's Gnosticism, and that's Gnosticism, not agnostic. Like, I'm agnostic. I don't know if I believe in God. I do believe in God. Gnosticism. So that is something that most people really don't know much, if anything, about, and maybe haven't even heard of it. It's considered heretical to Christians, so immediately you say Gnosticism to a Christian, and they'll just shut you down like hard. You know, their minds just like snap like a Venus flytrap. They can't cope with it at all, which is sad. But like, that's part of the purpose of. Anyway, some of this stuff's very controversial, so I gotta watch what I say. I never, ever, ever, ever mean to offend Christians. I'm not anti-Christian. I love Christians. I was raised, devout Catholic. I think there's something there. I'm not gonna try to. I'm not like. All I'm saying is that like sometimes you gotta reach past your frame of reference to have good, healthy critical thinking. That's kind of like all I'm really saying. And it at the same time, which is fascinating, and just last night I did this. I got a good friend who's pretty much like a biblical scholar, and he's one of my best friends, so like he can tolerate me. He gets angry and shit, but we're friends, so it's not like there's never like, you get what I'm trying to say. We're not trying to fight and not talk to each other anymore. And I'll bring information to him and say, okay, here's this, here's that, from a Christian perspective. How does that make sense? What, within the context of all of these other things like UFOs and multidimensionalities and this and that and the next thing. I think he believes that he has the answers. I personally am not, like, I'm not sold on a lot of his answers. That's me, and I'm not looking to get into some sort of big debate with him. All I do is say, what is your answer for this? And then he'll give it, and I'll go, and that's all. Because I'm still trying to figure shit out. So why would I be telling him what to think, But I have my answers. I kind of put it like that. I think that's maybe the right way to phrase it, But yeah, if so, there's an author, Michael L. Martin. Michael L. Martin. He has a show on Rumble. It's called My Dark Explorations. Now that's a very kind of creepy, ominous sounding name for a book and a show. And he is pretty much a master of astral projection and lucid dreaming, and he has done a lot of like crazy shit that's very, very paranormal to the average person, but to me is part of the landscape of psychology that is normal in my world. And so that's why I seek out people like that, so I can learn more about the paranormal and all this various stuff. And he's definitely Gnostic and knows like a lot about like how to interact with these kind of like multi-dimensional aliens, what we are actually living in, the actual truth of the human experience, and it's just the type of thing where like you can't really just tell somebody. I mean, it'll go in one ear and out the other ear, you know. And it's like I try to think, how can I talk to my family, say, about things that I know that could help them, and I just can't because their minds are they're just shut. They will not, they won't listen. And I mean, even about simple things like, hey, you know, check out ivermectin, you know, and oh, well, that's, you know, doctors don't agree with that, so therefore I'm not even going to consider it or research it. You know, it's like, you know, you can't reach people. So try talking about like the human soul and what that is and what reality is, and forget it. You know, you're not gonna, it's really 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 hard to get people to even listen, you know. Get the fuck out of here. Luke Mason's here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god, this is the man with the plan right here. Hail's right back at you. Luke, I'm so happy you made it, buddy. I actually almost sent you one of those join the show links, but I was an idiot and I did not do that. It's too bad. It would have been fun to have you on right now. So, Luke, I want to share this new page with you. I think you're going to love it. Give me a second here. Jason C. says he likes talking about the Covenant Prometheus film. It's a wild idea. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. Hold on. Jason C. T. Red Dead. No, not big on aliens, but WRR makes it intriguing and entertaining. Okay. All right. So, just wanted to update. I mean, you guys already know this, but since Luke is here, I wanted to share with him. So there's an introduction of a new character in the story, a guy called the God Emperor. And as you can probably well tell, you know, that's a spoof on a certain dude who lives in the White House. And I added the Freemason symbol here, you know, just to kind of get that message across. Anyway, he's on the phone here with this villain who's called the Cuckoo, who is basically based on Jared Kushner. Just saying. Okay, I probably shouldn't have let that out. But if you know, if people are cool enough to come to my show, they get the little golden Easter eggs. Okay, these are the elite Donald Kent fans. Only these people know what's going on. So here we go. No worries, I'm falling asleep as we speak. Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad you had a wonderful day. Anyway, last thing is that here we are in the Brooklyn tunnels here with the mattresses, and I assume you know what the implications are to that. And you don't have to stay up late or whatever. I actually have to wrap it up because I got to get up early for work tomorrow, and it's like almost 10 over here. So, quick recap. Fantastic show last night with Aarvoll. Lots of stuff to work through. What's happening is that I'll just say what Aarvoll is doing is bringing together many different factions from around the movement to come together and talk about stuff. So it's big. It's big. It's really exciting and amazing, and nothing like this has ever happened. And it's not. I don't know. I like to be a little vague. A lot of things just are in the works. You can't really say much about them until they become like real, you know. And when they become real, then it's like, okay, hey, there it is, you know. I know what's in the works, but it just doesn't, make a lot of sense to say, "Oh, this is going to happen," and just wait until it happens. Suffice to say that the community is re-empowered, and that it's no time to be sitting on your fucking ass. Get your head in the game, okay, guys? Get your head in the game. Find out what's going on. Promote positive culture. Positive culture. Civilization is shifting radically, and I'm not saying we're doing it. It's being done to us, and it's accelerating. History is about to snap. So in order to respond to that, building these communities is a form of survival, and it's a really, really critical thing. So yeah, go to his site, returntotheland.org, returntotheland.org. Read through all the documents that you can, learn about what's going on. I urge you to go check out all his interviews. He's doing the circuit. He's out there doing a massive circuit, and it's freaking amazing. So, having said all that cool stuff, I will leave you guys. Oh, let me quick read what Mr. Luke says here. No worries, I'm falling asleep. I'm loving all the symbolism in your comics, Donald. This is such important work, bro. Well, we want to get this out by Christmas and make this like a big Christmas marketing push. So then it'll be lobster and champagne every day for old Donald Kent. All right, God bless you guys. I love you so much. Love your people. Love your land. Do good. Be good. And stay close to God. That's the most important thing, okay? All right. Have yourself a good night, and we'll see you next time on the internets. Hail our people.